Imagine waking up one day and sensing that your first desire is not your own. You open your eyes to familiar light, familiar textures, familiar patterns in the ceiling, and yet, before your feet even touch the floor, your hand reaches for the glowing rectangle beside your bed. The movement is quick, practiced, almost reverent. You aren't thinking, you are being thought. The screen blooms with color, tiny invitations, a carousel of faces, objects, promises. The promises are not explicit. They hum beneath the surface like a tone you can't consciously hear. And in that first moment, a small voice inside your head says, I want. But whose voice is it? You tell yourself you're free because you can choose. Coffee or matcha, sneakers or boots, minimalist or maximalist. You browse, swipe, add to cart, let items sit just long enough to ache. It feels like exercise for the will, micro-affirmations of your independence. But look closely at the choreography. Your craving spikes in a rhythm you didn't design, nudged by a headline, a color palette, a limited edition badge mimicking scarcity where none exists. You're not told what to buy, you're told what to feel. Urgency, relief, belonging. And the purchase is the ritual that resolves the artificially induced storm. Here is the paradox that sits at the edge of your morning. The more choices you have, the less room there is for you. The marketplace offers you 1,000 masks and calls it authenticity. It says, be yourself, and supplies an endless aisle of selves to rent by subscription. You subscribe to a personality, then keep renewing because the trial period never quite feels finished. Do you notice how the thing you bought to signal who you are begins to instruct you how to behave? As if your jacket can whisper, people who wear me don't cry in public. As if your headphones can declare, we who own this model don't listen to silence. The house around you is quiet, but your inner life is loud with curated hunger. The coffee smells like comfort and ambition. The mug says, make it happen. The kitchen offers the neat satisfaction of a showroom. Your calendar is studded with tasks and deliveries. You are not anxious exactly. You are tethered to a gentle tension, an itch for improvement that never quite resolves. Progress requires fuel. So does anxiety. You are always a few steps from the next acquisition that will finish the sentence, I'll be complete when, yet the sentence refuses a period. Why? Pause. Ask yourself, when was the last time you desired something that had no marketing department? When was the last time a longing was so raw, so inconvenient, that it didn't fit neatly in a box or ship in 2 days? You know the sensation. It flashes in dreams, or in the middle of a song, or when you hold a gaze a moment longer than is polite. It is messy, unpackageable, and terrifying because it points toward a self that cannot be delivered, cannot be returned, cannot be photographed for proof. And yet, every day, a subtler story shepherds you away from that edge. It says, better to have an identity you can display than a soul you must cultivate. Better to collect experiences than to endure transformation. Better to feel briefly excited than profoundly awake. It tells you to preserve the image of being alive rather than risk the awkwardness of living. It says that fulfillment is a logistics problem to be solved by tracking numbers, and that meaning arrives scheduled between 2 to 4 p.m. The contradiction grows sharper the more you examine it. You're encouraged to be unique by purchasing what millions have already purchased to demonstrate their uniqueness. The storefronts are mirrors angled to infinity, striking from a distance, dizzying up close. You present a version of yourself composed of fragments, a playlist, a shoe brand, a dietary preference, a curated shelf of books you intend to read later. If someone asked, who are you without your preferences? Would you feel naked or free? Is your taste the evidence of a self or the camouflage of one? Now imagine refusing the day's first suggestion. The phone stays face down. The quiet grows teeth. You feel a shape beneath your thoughts, the slow pulse of a question that has waited at the edge of your life for years. Without the constant hum of acquisition, do you know what you long for? Without the pressure to be seen, do you know how to look inward? Without the exchange of money, can you trade something more dangerous, your certainty for wonder, your image for intimacy, your comfort for truth? The culture you move through insists that wanting is the same as being alive. But is it? Or have you been trained to mistake stimulus for desire, novelty for meaning, consumption for identity. What if your freedom is a beautifully engineered maze where every turn offers another choice and none of the choices lead out? What if the maze is lined with mirrors so you never suspect the walls? Of course, you are not gullible. You have read the essays, heard the critiques, unfollowed a few trends, shook your head at the excess. And yet the ache persists, the itch that says you are simultaneously overfed and undernourished, surrounded by abundance and starving. How can you be inundated with options and still feel empty? How can a civilization so devoted to pleasure be so anxious? Why does buying feel like a promise and owning feel like a debt? Stand there in your morning, the light not yet harsh, the day not yet claimed, and admit the possibility that you are being lived by something that profits when you mistake hunger for identity. Feel how your chest tightens around the notion that you might have outsourced your desires to a system that does not care if you are whole, only if you are engaged. If that is even half true, what might it cost to reclaim your appetite for a life that isn't for sale? These are not questions to answer quickly. They are doors that behave like mirrors, mirrors that behave like clocks, clocks that refuse to measure anything but the life you spend without noticing. If you feel the sting of this, take it as a sign, not of guilt, but of wakefulness. There is a force beneath the surface of your choices, a grammar of wanting that was written before you learned to speak. To understand how consumer culture colonizes that most private territory, your mind, your inner voice, you must follow the tension to its source. Step closer. The machinery you're looking for doesn't hum behind a locked door. It hums inside your nervous system. The hidden problem is not simply that companies advertise things. It is that your mind, built to predict, attach, and imitate, can be tuned like an instrument by any environment persistent enough to practice on it. Consumer culture is that environment. It rehearses you, it trains your attention, calibrates your cravings, and installs a grammar of wanting, so intimate you mistake it for your own voice. Start with the body. Desire feels like freedom, but neurologically, it is often math. Your brain is a prediction machine, always comparing what it expects to what arrives. When expectation and reality don't match, a reward prediction error occurs and dopamine spikes. Not pleasure, possibility, not satisfaction, direction. Slot machines exploit this by varying rewards unpredictably. So do notifications, flash sales, loot boxes, the only 3 left banners. Intermittent reinforcement glues you to loops you would otherwise abandon. Your nucleus accumbens doesn't evaluate truth, it calibrates urgency. Your prefrontal cortex makes plans, but your basal ganglia learns habits. The more your environment moves you with small, variable wins, the more your identity rearranges around the pursuit of the next bump of maybe. Then the social layer pours itself over your biology. You don't just want, you want what others want. René Girard called this mimetic desire, the way the desire of the other teaches you what is desirable. Platforms make mimesis measurable. View counts, like counts, trending sounds. Numerical aura, masquerading as proof. The herd no longer has to be physically present. It is quantified and omnipresent. Social proof becomes self-fulfilling. You chase what many have chased, not because you need it, but because you need to belong to the chase. You call it inspiration. Your nervous system calls it safety. Identity follows. Carl Jung warned that the persona, the social mask, protects the psyche, but can also imprison it. Consumer culture monetizes this mask. It offers persona you can purchase in installments. The minimalist sage, the techno-futurist, the rustic purist, the biohacker monk. These masks don't merely decorate you, they instruct you. They whisper rules about what people like us do, buy, condemn, and desire. Meanwhile, the parts of you that don't fit, the shadow, get pressed into the basement. Repressed hunger does not disappear. It returns in disguised form. Impulsive shopping, doom scrolling at 2 a.m., the sudden purchase you justify with a story you didn't believe until after you clicked. The more polished your mask, the more unruly your shadow's appetites become. Philosophy names the rest of the trap. Schopenhauer said the human condition is a restless will, endless striving that finds only brief relief before it begins again. The mall is a temple to this will: desire, purchase, sigh, repeat. Nietzsche, searching for a nobler will, warned of the herd instinct that flattens individuality into safety. Transpose his warning into the feed. The herd does not gather in a field, it gathers in metrics. To belong, you borrow a style and call it self-overcoming. But the will to power becomes a will to purchase, your strength measured in the eloquence of your acquisitions. Aldous Huxley imagined a world where people consent to their own domination because they are sedated with pleasure. You are not dosed with soma, but you are supplied with a steady drip of conveniences that anesthetize angst. Jean-Paul Sartre called it bad faith, the refusal to confront your radical freedom by hiding in roles. Consumer culture gives you roles that can be bought and renewed, and you perform them at the cost of your authorship. Viktor Frankl believed humans are driven by a will to meaning, not merely pleasure or power. When meaning is scarce, the vacuum sucks in whatever is available. Products become placeholders for purposes. You fill the emptiness with novelty and call it living. But hollow substitutes cannot satisfy an appetite for significance. They only blunt it long enough to require the next dose. Of course, none of this would spread without an economy built for it. Attention is today's oil, extracted, refined, sold. Surveillance capitalism promises to predict your behavior, and prediction becomes gently coercive. Behavioral data, your late-night swipes, your abandoned carts, your linger time on a photo, feed models that nudge your next choice. It feels like suggestion. Functionally, it is training. The system doesn't ask what you mean by your choices. It maximizes likelihood you will repeat them. Over time, your spontaneity becomes statistically legible. How often is your sudden need already priced into someone's quarterly forecast? The mind has blind spots that make this capture elegant. Hyperbolic discounting. You overvalue the immediate over the distant, so a one-click present defeats a distant purpose every time. The scarcity effect, only today, folds your time horizon to now. The endowment effect, put a free trial in your hands and you will fight to keep it because your brain feels loss more painfully than gain. Anchoring, the strike-through price redraws the map of reason. The mere exposure effect, repeated images wear grooves of familiarity that feel like trust. Each bias alone is manageable. Together they form a net strong enough to catch your future while you're distracted by the present. But the deepest root may be quieter, a cultural superego that tells you to perform your aliveness publicly to prove you have it at all. The spectacle, as Debord named it, replaces lived experiences with their representation. The camera becomes both witness and judge. Consumption becomes a language for communicating worth. Your private longing is rerouted into displayable signals. You don't just drink coffee, you exhibit a coffee ritual. You don't just travel, you accumulate evidence of having been somewhere, which accumulates evidence of being someone. Being for others, Sartre would say, and being for others is exhausting. This is how the machinery works, without conspiracy, without a villain in a basement twirling a mustache. It is selection. What survives in a marketplace are products, messages, and platforms that best exploit human attention and animal learning. Over decades, the system evolves toward what is most clickable, most shareable, most profitable. In such an ecology, your deepest self is not the target. Your most predictable reflexes are. The more efficiently the system reads your reflexes, the less it has to care about your freedom, because your freedom is noise that lowers engagement. Does that mean you are a puppet? Not exactly. It means your strings are made of habit and hope. You hope the next upgrade will ironing your soul's creases. You habitually treat restlessness as a shopping list. The hidden problem is not only external manipulation, it is internal complicity. There is a part of you relieved to outsource meaning because meaning is hard work. There is a part of you grateful to swap uncertainty for the choreography of taste. You don't need a tyrant when you prefer an algorithm that frees you from asking, what do I truly want? Notice what happens in your body when you hover over that question. A flicker of dread? A tug toward the browser? Jung might say your shadow is rustling. Frankl would hear a call. Nietzsche would dare you to create values that are yours even if no one applauds. Huxley would caution that comfort can be a cage with velvet bars. Schopenhauer would smirk, the will is still hungry. Sartre would push you to own the nausea of freedom rather than hide in roles you can buy. We haven't yet named the full cost. You can feel it gathering like weather, the sense that this machinery does more than nudge purchases. It choreographs attention, and attention writes identity. It turns your life into a sequence of solved cravings, and solved cravings cannot assemble a self. What does a society become when its desires are engineered? What happens to love, to friendship, to politics, to grief? When the language of worth is price and the grammar of belonging is brand? Keep the question open. Let the pressure build, because the consequences are not theoretical. They are architectural. They shape the rooms you live in and the rooms inside your head. And if you suspect that the scaffolding holding up your days is made of borrowed longing, the next step is not simple outrage. It is a seeing through. It is a naming. And then, maybe, a refusal. Open the window of your day and look at it with new eyes. Nothing has changed, and everything has. The same routes, the same screen, the same coffee. Only now you can see how the architecture of your attention arranges the furniture of your life. The consequence is not just what you buy, it is who you become in order to keep buying. It is a subtle reformatting of your inner weather, your moods, your time, your language, until you are fluent in a dialect of desire that was scripted elsewhere. Start with time. Your day is no longer a river, it is an auction. Notifications bid for moments, and your attention sells at a discount because the bidding never stops. Each ping recruits your salience network to declare, "This matters now," even when it doesn't. The cost is not merely distraction, it is attentional residue, the mental echo that lingers after you switch tasks. You can return to the essay, the conversation, the work that matters, but your mind arrives frayed, trailing threads of unfinished loops. The Zeigarnik effect ensures the incomplete calls louder than the complete. Abandoned carts whisper from the edge of consciousness. Half-read articles tug. Depth becomes an endangered state. And depth is where meaning grows. Mood follows time. You chase wanting more than liking. Dopamine surges on the approach, not the arrival, so the goal gradient effect gives you a burst of momentum as you near the checkout, then drops you at the cliff's edge the moment the package is purchased or delivered. Hedonic adaptation resets the baseline within days, sometimes hours. The high collapses, the hunger remains. Soon the absence of newness feels like a kind of pain. You misdiagnose this as boredom and reach for novelty, mistaking the relief of stimulation for the presence of life. Your nervous system learns to equate stillness with threat, silence with inadequacy, downtime with failure. How could contentment stand a chance if your body has been trained to interpret peace as nothing happening? Language quietly mutates. You begin to speak in metrics, optimize, convert, scale, hack, not only professionally, but intimately. Relationships are investments, hobbies become content, and rest becomes recovery, as if sleep needs a performance report. You ask how a moment will play, not what it means. You narrate your own life in slogans because slogans are frictionless. They slide over inconvenient truths. The internal monologue that once negotiated with wonder now negotiates with brand guidelines. When your words are borrowed, your thoughts take on their shape. Identity frays into performance. The social arena rewards visibility, and so you curate. You curate your tastes, your meals, your grief, your activism. The spectacle thrives on images of life rather than life itself. So you begin to pose for yourself, even when alone, tilting your reality toward what would look good if someone were watching. The mirror multiplies. You are always in rehearsal. But rehearsal produces a peculiar loneliness. People meet your persona and applaud. The applause cannot touch you. How long can a self breathe beneath a mask designed to please? The consequences spill into love. Dating apps train you to browse for a person the way you browse for headphones. Paradox of choice turns abundance into paralysis. The mind, overwhelmed, turns to heuristics, height filters, hobbies, a checklist, which render other humans into sortable attributes. The reward prediction error makes the next profile feel like possibility, while the current one becomes an inventory of flaws. Commitment dwindles into FOMO, fear of missing out on someone marginally better, a marginally better you. Even inside relationships, the market's grammar intrudes. Compatibility becomes a feature set, conflict a customer support ticket, passion an upgrade cycle. What does intimacy look like when the logic of the feed has trained you to swipe away from discomfort on contact? Children absorb it all before they can spell it. They learn brand names before bird names, associate love with deliveries, attention with devices, boredom with emergency. Their imagination is colonized early by franchises that offer prefab worlds where wonder is licensed. The IKEA effect, the tendency to love what you assemble, gets hijacked by customization kits and merch that simulate creation while quietly avoiding it. The skill of crafting meaning from silence atrophies because silence has been rebranded as awkwardness, inefficiency, loss. Work does not escape. You are told to become an entrepreneur of the self, to turn your personality into a portfolio. This sounds like freedom and feels like surveillance. You are never off. The market for you requires you be always available, always optimizing, always building your personal brand. Burnout doesn't arrive as a crash. It accretes as a texture, brittle cheerfulness, low-grade dread, a sense that every hour must justify itself in currency. The gig economy promises autonomy while enforcing precarity. The algorithm is your boss, and the boss is invisible. There, but not accountable. Friendly, until it isn't. You internalize the boss. Self-exploitation becomes normal because the critique would risk the only thing more frightening than exhaustion, being obsolete. Civic life folds into consumer life. Politics becomes product, candidates become brands, and outrage becomes engagement, the platform's favorite nutrient. The availability heuristic makes the most vivid story feel like the most important. The negativity bias ensures the worst story wins attention. Confirmation bias keeps you in bubbles that taste like certainty. Deliberation withers. We perform our positions for our tribe, and policy is eclipsed by vibes. If you can buy the t-shirt, attend the march, post the graphic, you can feel like a participant without enduring the slow work of collective change. The spectacle metabolizes even dissent, turns it into seasonal trends. The planet is not an abstraction here. It bears the invoice. Planned obsolescence writes decay into design, externalities get externalized to landscapes you will never see. E-waste piles, like a shadow of convenience. Meanwhile, guilt itself becomes a market segment. You are offered redemption by purchase. Sustainable, ethical, green. Some of it helps. Much of it soothes. Virtue becomes a sticker on the product of the same machine. The deeper structural demand to want less, to share more, to repair, rarely makes it to the front page because temperance has terrible click-through rates. Money acquires a psychological gravity that bends your choices. Debt turns tomorrow into collateral for today's desires. The future becomes a warehouse for the present's overflow. A subscription here, a lease there, a free trial that became a habit. Suddenly, your life is financed and your options are financed with it. Loss aversion keeps you renewing. Sunk cost fallacy ties you to the ecosystem you've already invested in. You rationalize that you are too embedded to change, that your friends are here, your photos are here, your convenience is here. Freedom shrinks to the size of your billing cycle. Sleep, the oldest sanctuary, gets traded on the margin. Blue light blurs your evenings into early mornings, and the algorithms relish your twilight vulnerability. Late at night, your executive function takes leave, your impulse control thins, and the market draws near with soft tones. You shop like a dreamer. You wake like a debtor. The next day, you are a little more tired, a little more distractible, a little more susceptible. The loop tightens not as a handcuff, but as a pattern. You begin to notice the psychic taxes, the cost of constantly comparing, constantly narrating, constantly deciding, constantly defending your choices to an imagined jury. The tax on presence. A child shows you a drawing, and your hand twitches toward the camera. The tax on joy. A moment is beautiful, and you feel the itch to prove it. The tax on grief. Sorrow arrives and the world offers you a cart. The tax on risk, you want to make something, but there is no metric for courage, so you hesitate. How much of your life have you paid in these invisible currencies? The machine's most devastating success may be this. It convinces you that this state is normal, inevitable, modernity's price of admission. But normalization is not benign. It shapes aspiration, and aspiration builds worlds. If the highest good is convenience, we will design for numbness. If the measure of success is accumulation, we will be measured and find ourselves lacking. If value is attention, we will wage quiet wars on one another's focus until trust itself erodes. Do you feel the weight of it? A gentle, persistent pressure that has been there so long you mistook it for gravity? Now you can call it what it is. A culture that trains desire to circle the same drain and calls the whirlpool freedom. Seeing the bars of the cage is the first scandal. Feeling them is the second. But there is a third scandal waiting. The realization that rebellion will not be a shopping decision. It will be something slower, stranger, and far more demanding. If you're ready, we can walk there. Rebellion does not feel like a sale. It feels like a silence. You don't add something to the cart. You remove something from orbit. The machine is fluent in urgency and spectacle, so your revolt will be fluent in slowness and presence. You won't out-advertise an advertiser or out-engineer an algorithm. You will starve the loops by changing the conditions in which they feed. You will relearn desire the way a musician relearns a song played too fast for too long, by slowing the tempo until the notes become intentions again. Begin with your environment, not your willpower. Willpower is a match. Environment is the wind. Add friction where the machine wants speed. Remove friction where your soul wants depth. Disable one click. Delete stored cards. Keep no shopping apps on the front page. Turn your phone to grayscale so seduction loses its paint. Make your morning analog before it is networked. A notebook at the bedside where the phone used to live. A pen that asks for honesty, not engagement. Put what you want to become within arm's reach. A book open to the last paragraph. A guitar on a stand, not in a case. A pair of shoes at the door that make walking the default. This is not asceticism, it is architecture. You are building a path of least resistance toward the person you prefer to be. Time becomes your first declaration of independence. Carve a small island, a daily Sabbath of attention. 30 minutes, an hour, eventually a morning. Unmeasured by metrics, unmarketed to anyone. Guard it like something alive that startles easily. On that island, do one thing that cannot be optimized. Write a page no one will read. Memorize 8 lines of a poem. Watch the light move across the wall. Let boredom arrive and sit with it until you hear its real name, space. If you can endure 5 minutes of unfilled time without reaching for a device, you have already defied a trillion-dollar industry. Hack mimesis by choosing your models with devotion. If desire is contagious, pick your contagions wisely. Seek people whose longings are non-rivalrous. Craft, wisdom, courage, compassion. They cannot be hoarded. Study the ones who refuse the choreography. Diogenes telling Alexander to step out of his sun. Thoreau building a cabin to measure the cost of a life. The Shakers making furniture so honest the joints themselves became a kind of prayer. Gandhi spinning cotton to abandon dependence on imperial cloth. The Quakers dressing plainly to divert attention from status to conscience. Not because you will replicate their choices, but because their desires radiate a different grammar. Hang their words where ads would go. Let their values pre-infect your day before campaigns arrive. Stop performing for ghosts. Make something you vow never to show, ever. A secret sketchbook. A garden no one photographs. A melody you play only at night. This is not quaint, it is counter-programming. The spectacle feeds on proof. You will feed on reality. Ask yourself, what would I still do if no one could know I did it? Do that. Desire develops thickness when it doesn't beg for witnesses. Rehearse refusal in small, doable rituals. The next time a market want lands in you, don't crush it, don't obey it. Write it down. Next to it, write its provenance. Where did this want come from? Who profits if I obey it? What emotion is it promising to heal that I could honor directly? Sleep on it. If it still pulses in the morning, take it for a walk. Ones that survive stillness are candidates for being yours. Many will evaporate like fog in daylight. The ones that remain feel less like cravings and more like compass needles. Attend to your shadow, as Jung would insist. Consumer culture offers masks. Your rebellion will welcome the face behind them. When you feel the impulse to numb, scroll, buy, distract, ask the shadow question, what am I unwilling to feel right now? Then feel a teaspoon of it on purpose, without an anesthetic. Loneliness, envy, grief, inadequacy, these are not bugs in your code, they are messages. If you listen, you are less likely to outsource the job of soothing to things that cannot love you back. Practice voluntary discomfort, not to punish yourself, but to loosen the leash of the will. Skip a purchase you can easily afford and savor the intactness of your attention. Walk in rain without an umbrella speed. Eat a simple meal without dressing it in novelty. Repair something instead of replacing it. Stitch, solder, glue, kintsugi, a cracked bowl with gold to honor the break as part of the story. Stoics did not worship pain, they trained their fear of it. Each chosen inconvenience reminds your nervous system that you can survive without the next hit of ease. And when you stop fearing discomfort, you stop being blackmailed by convenience. Recode money back into life. Calculate, as the sages of thrift suggest, your real hourly wage, after commutes, gear, repairs, recovery. Then translate only $199 into 9 hours of my one life. Ask, does this object return 9 hours of aliveness? Sometimes yes, often no. Keep an aftertaste journal where you record how purchases felt a week later. Notice which buys expand time and which compress it. Choose tools over toys, mastery over novelty, maintenance over replacement. The Diderot effect, that one new thing demands a new everything, dissolves when you anchor your possessions to purposes rather than to aesthetics. Alter the social contract. Gather 2 or 3 people and make a small treaty, a shared Sabbath, a tool library, a repair night, a phone basket at dinners, an agreement to text each other before buying anything over a certain amount. Not to police one another, but to lend backbone to courage. Desire is social, so is refusal. Create a guild of unmarketed longings, trade skills, cook together, meet without agendas. Mutual aid is an economy the spectacle cannot monetize because its currency is trust. Redesign your feed or step outside it. If you must be there, cultivate what Girard would call anti-mimetic sanctuaries. Follow craftspeople who show process more than product. Historians who thicken time. Gardeners who love seasons more than aesthetics. Thinkers who make you slower, not hotter. Or delete the apps and re-enter through a browser so the friction pulls you back into choice. If you leave, you do not disappear. You begin to exist where algorithms cannot grade you. Relearn pleasure as a sacrament, not a sedative. Huxley was right. We are easier to rule when soothed. So let pleasure become precise. Drink 1 cup of tea like a ceremony. Eat with both hands free. Make music with your mouth, not just your speakers. Walk until your mind empties, then walk farther. Schedule awe, sky at dawn, museum at noon, a concert where sound dissolves you. Pleasure that expands awareness inoculates you against pleasures that contract it. Embrace style as Nietzsche intended, not fashion's currency, but the shaping of a character. Give style to your character, he wrote. Choose 5 virtues you would die defending: patience, courage, tenderness, truthfulness, and clarity. Let your purchases submit to them rather than decide them. Return from every store, digital or otherwise, with those virtues intact or enhanced. If they are diminished, if you must lie to yourself to click, you have your answer. This is not the austerity Olympics. You will still buy things. You will still be seduced. The rebellion is not purity, it is authorship. You are designing a life that cannot be reduced to a cart. You are changing the story of what a day is for. Each small refusal loosens the net. Each unposted joy weakens the spectacle. Each repaired object rewires your relationship to time. Each honest hour thickens your immunity to manufactured wants. And yet, beneath tactics and rituals, a deeper pivot waits. If you continue, you'll discover that the machine feeds on your war with yourself. The trap is not only what you want, but how you relate to wanting it all. To break free fully, you will not merely edit your cravings. You will recognize something truer living beneath them. Are you ready to step into that room? Step into the room you sense behind your refusals. It is quieter than you expected. No music, no banners, a chair, a window. The kind of light that makes dust visible, like a constellation close enough to touch. This is the place the machine could never enter because it needs noise to exist, and here, noise starves. You notice something immediate and disarming. You are not broken. You are not empty. You are not a problem that purchases can solve. The hunger that dragged you from one novelty to the next was not proof of a defect. It was proof of a misdirected devotion. What wants to be seen here is simple and terrifying. You become what you give your attention to. Attention is not a resource among others. It is your life, paid out in real time. It is your only non-renewable currency. When you spend attention on surfaces that solicit you without loving you, your inner world reorganizes around ache. When you give attention to what is alive, craft, courage, compassion, your inner world organizes around meaning. This is not a moral slogan, it is a law of psychic gravity. Look closer at desire. There are two currents braided within it. The first is craving, acquisitive, restless, easily hijacked. It points toward possession, promises relief, and dissolves on arrival. The second is longing, deep, steady, inconvenient. It points toward participation, not possession, toward giving yourself to something rather than getting something for yourself. Craving shouts, longing hums. Craving peaks when the package ships. Longing ripens when the vow is kept. Consumer culture has trained your ear to hear only the shout. The truth is to tune to the hum. Jung called the path of individuation the journey toward wholeness, a life lived in conversation with the unconscious, integrating the disowned. You cannot buy that. You can only practice being the one who listens. Frankl insisted that meaning cannot be pursued directly. It ensues when you respond to the call of life with responsibility. Ask not, what do I want from life, but what does life want from me, here with these hands, with this breath, with these neighbors? As soon as the question pivots from acquisition to response, the maze's walls begin to look less like walls and more like set pieces. Freedom, then, is not the abundance of options. Freedom is the strength of commitment. Consumer culture taught you that preferences define you. The truth offers a deeper grammar. Vows shape you. A vow is a line you draw not against life, but for it. It is a chosen necessity. It says, I am the kind of person who tells the truth even when it costs me. I am the kind of person who finishes what I begin. I am the kind of person who will be kind to the vulnerable even if no one applauds. As vows accumulate, your identity condenses not around what you own, but around what you serve. Your days are no longer auctions. They are liturgy. This is the paradox that frees you. You become most yourself when you forget yourself in attention to what is worthy. The obsession with self-completion collapses when you begin to give yourself away on purpose. Not to be depleted, but to participate in a larger aliveness. Schopenhauer's restless will softens when it is recruited into compassion. Nietzsche's call to create values finds its home in the daily act of crafting a life that would be yours even if unseen. Sartre's nausea dissolves when you own your choices as author, not actor. Huxley's sedation loses its grip when you let pleasure become conscious, precise, generous. You can feel the practicality of this in your hands. When you treat objects as tools for your vows, they lose their power over you. A knife becomes a promise to cook for people. A notebook becomes a promise to attend to your thoughts until they reveal the truth beneath their noise. Shoes become a promise to walk with a friend through grief. Your phone remains a device, not a deity, when it serves a devotion larger than itself. Ownership tilts into stewardship. Acquisition becomes adoption. Maintenance becomes a prayer of gratitude. Thank you for helping me fulfill my promise. There is a deeper shift in how you measure your days. Instead of asking, "Did I get enough?" you ask, "Did I give myself to what matters?" Instead of cataloging purchases, you count the moments of unfragmented attention. A conversation without the tug to check, a meal where the flavors register all the way to your bones, a page you wrote that surprised you with its honesty. Instead of chasing the high of newness, you court the quiet satisfaction of fidelity, returning to a craft, a friendship, a practice until the surface breaks and you enter the interior of it. And the self you were trying to perform? It begins to feel like a costume left backstage after the play. Identity becomes less a pose and more a posture. You find that you can tell the truth without rehearsing it for the camera, that you can feel grief without softening it with add to cart, that you can experience joy without splitting it into content. The emptiness that drove you to seek constant stimulation reveals itself as a neglected room. You furnish it with attention, not objects. It becomes a studio for becoming. This is not an argument against beauty or against things. It is an argument for sequence. Let love lead and let things follow. If you love music, buy the instrument you will practice, not the gadget that lets you pretend. If you love learning, buy the book you will wrestle with, not the stack that flatters your image. If you love the earth, buy the shovel before the slogan. In this order, consumption honors creation. It does not replace it. Your purchases become sentences in a story you are actively writing, not advertisements for a story you wish were true. Will the machine vanish? No, but it will shrink. Its promises will sound thin next to the resonance of a vow kept. Its urgency will lose to the gravity of purpose. Algorithms will still whisper, but you will know their accent. They speak the language of craving. You will be fluent in longing. And when you inevitably falter, because you will, your practice will be to return gently to the chair, the window, the dust lit by morning. You will not scold yourself. You will reassign your attention as one might guide a child's face from the television to the sun. So what do you do concretely with this truth? You choose a devotion. Name it plainly. Write it somewhere unglamorous. I devote my attention to telling the truth in my work. I devote my attention to tending friendships with patience. I devote my attention to a craft that outlasts trend cycles. I devote my attention to caring for this patch of earth. Then build a small liturgy around it. A morning minute of silence to remember. A weekly act that embodies it. A monthly fast from what undermines it. A quarterly day to repair what you already own. These are not chores. They are vows given calendar and form. And then, when the day begins again, the rectangle will glow as it always has. Your hand will hover as it always has. But something in you will pause. You will ask softly, who do I love with this next minute? What will I make sacred by looking at it? Perhaps you will still check the screen. Perhaps you will not. Either way, you will have remembered that your attention is a blessing you are free to bestow. You will walk to the window and watch the city breathe. You will make the coffee as if it were a sacrament. You will text a friend without needing an audience. You will put on your shoes and step into a world that is no longer a storehouse, but a relationship. And in that relationship, the strangest clarity arrives. You were never a consumer. That was a role you were sold. You are a participant, a maker, a steward, a neighbor, a lover, a witness. The mind that once circled the drain of more turns outward like a flower to weather and light. What you own becomes lighter. What you owe becomes clearer. What you are becomes less explainable and more felt. Stand there a moment longer. Feel the room's quiet knowing. The machine will try to reclaim you with haste, with comparison, with scarcity dressed as sophistication. Let it chatter. You have a vow now, and a practice, and a truth sturdy enough to hold in your pocket. You are not the sum of your cravings. You are the shape of your attention. Spend it as if it were life, because it is. Then go, choose a devotion, name it aloud, and begin your day like a revolution no one can mark it.